Hello, I'm Chief Randazzo with the Macomb County Animal Control. The following program is designed to inform you, the residents of Macomb County, of animal welfare issues that are taking place in our neighborhoods. So stay tuned. I hope you enjoy it. So we're on our way right now to a street called Orbit, which is over in Harrison Township, off like the Joy Road, Gratiot area. It's a mobile home community that we're on our way out there. Received a call from Child Protective Services and a call from a rescue group that we know is very credible. They're an amazing rescue group. Both parties went into the home, said it was absolutely disgusting, covered in feces. With cat feces, there's, what they counted was over 30 cats. Sounds like Child Protective Services removed 2 of the children that would live there. Mom's still on scene, so we're on our way out right now. Hopefully she's going to be compliant with us and allow us to come in. If not, we have to go get a search warrant. But we're definitely going in there today to make sure that, just so we can see what's going on. But it sounds like, from both parties, like I said, it sounds really bad. So hopefully she'll be compliant and we can get these cats out of there. So as soon as I pulled up, I could smell it. And that is a telltale sign that something terrible is going on inside this house. And it's a smell that I think in the animal control industry, once you smell it, it's something that you will always remember as you pull up into another house and realize that that same situation is taking place. In this case, I was probably 5 steps from the door, walking up the stairs, and I knew immediately that there was something bad going inside. And in this case, she was pretty compliant in the beginning. As soon as I stepped in that door, I wish I could bottle the smell for people. Because even though you're seeing the show and you're sitting on the other side of the TV right now, you're looking at all of this and thinking, oh my God, this is incredible. This is so sad, and this must be extremely toxic for a person to live in. You have to remember that their animal control officers are going into that home and they're being exposed to all of this. The feces, the diseases, everything that's being born in this house, animal control officers are exposed to. And I think that most of the time is always being overlooked. But once I got into the house, there wasn't a spot you could step in without being exposed to stepping in feces, all the flies. The whole area was just filled with flies, and then there was maggots on the floor and maggots in the litter boxes. But in their mind, this lady's mind, she thought she was saving all the cats. She had names for all the cats. And is it perpetual? I'm sure that we'll be probably revisiting her, because I think mental illness is something that we probably really, as animal control officers, one, we're not experienced to handle mental illness, but on the other side of it, it's like, I don't know, that's why we try to get them go through the court system, so that we're hoping somewhere this mental illness is going to be addressed. But now we're inside the home, right? And you're looking around and all you can see is feces, cats everywhere, they're sick, their eyes are all goopy. So now you have to come up with a plan of action. What do you do with 63 cats? Is this lady going to let us take the cats? So it's kind of working with her. So in the beginning, like in this specific case, she was not going to let us take these cats. So then you have to play psychologist. You have to sit down and talk to them and tell them like what's going to be best for these cats, because their whole goal is, I don't want the cats euthanized. I don't want them to go to animal control. I want them to stay here because I love these cats. But even though they're not caring for the cats, and that's what you have to spend some time sitting down with residents and talking with them and trying to help them understand it you're talking in fractions of moments to try to get them to understand that they're not caring for the cats. In their hearts they are, but physically they're not caring properly for 63 cats. Every fly strip was full of flies. All the floors were spongy just from the years of urinating and defecation. And you have Child Protective Services, that are taking the kids, and Adult Protective Services that are waiting to talk to her but won't even come in the house because it's so toxic. So then, in this specific case, she ended up letting us take some. So we take what she'll let us take. Then we start working a little more about, well, what if we take some more? And then it's having those hard conversations and heartfelt conversations with residents saying, reiterating that you're in a bad situation, and the cats are in a bad situation. The state of Michigan is number 3 for having the strongest animal cruelty laws on the books. So we should be proud of that. The hardest part is that community-wise and county-wide, although we have some really great ordinances, the law would only allow us to place somebody on probation for 2 years. So even though you do this big seizure of animals, and they do go to court, and the court, the judge may say, you cannot own any animals, the longest period of time you could ever put onto somebody is about 2 years for probation. So could they, theoretically, after the end of those 2 years, go get more animals? Absolutely. Legally, can they? Absolutely. That's the hard part. So that's where we really need to bridge the gap, right? Working with kind of the court systems and coming up with, and the legislators coming up with something that's more long-term. Because again, research shows that it's perpetual. If you do it now, even though you get caught, eventually you're going to do it later because again, it's a mental illness that we're not dealing with. The outcome was we brought the cats back here, quarantined them, and I believe there was just a few that had to be euthanized, and the rest of them were all placed. So we held on to those cats for a very long time, made sure they had medical treatment because they all had ulcers in their throat, and that was a big scare for a lot of people because they thought they had the Khaleesi virus. But we held on to them for a long time, for probably a good month or so, and made sure that they're all healthy. We did blood work on them, and they all came back healthy. So 95% of all those cats were saved. So we received a call for, it actually was about 30 to 40 snakes inside a home in Washington Township. So we arrived, I have one of my officers with us, we also have some deputies with us, and so when we get to the house, we're knocking on the door. It kind of took the residents a little while to get to the door. As soon as she opened the door, I can see a shelving unit. That is typically what you would see of people who are probably breeding snakes, more on a large scale, that just aren't exhibiting snakes. So most people who have like 1 or 2 snakes, they're usually in a tank. These are kind of like in their shelving unit, which is typical of what you would see, like I said, from people who are breeding snakes or they're going to be showing snakes. And so when I asked the resident, do you mind if we come in? This is why we're here, because we always want to tell them why we're here, right? So when we get in, one, we could tell the house was in complete disarray, and they're trying to scramble, and so it's kind of a sure sign that something's going on. So let me just get this plan
together. One upstairs, you said?
Yeah.
There's one upstairs in the tank, like set up like that.
So when we start mentioning the snakes, she was thankfully truthful and compliant, and stated that they were her husband's. And to us in the county, whoever has custody or care at the animal at that time when we're doing our investigation, you're responsible for it.
Oh man.
Oh, yeah,
Is that the one?
Snakes don't sleep like that, do they?
Yeah, no.
See, it's on the side, which is weird.
No.
He's fresh dead too. We went over to the shelving unit. There was 14 live snakes, and then there were some dead snakes. Nobody had water. You could tell that they at one time had water, and the water had just been evaporated out. So water was never refilled. The snakes were sick. So we just started at that point. We kind of are still doing our investigation, but we let her know what's going on. This is not the proper way to care for any animal, but if you're gonna have snakes and you're gonna be breeding them, then you have to be responsible. And if you're not, then that's what our responsibility as animal control is, to make sure you're gonna be doing that. And if you're not, then we're taking the animals. They were obviously novice at it, so you could tell that they really didn't know what they were doing. The snakes were given to them from a friend, and what ends up turning out is if you don't do your homework, you're going to end up with a disaster, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, snakes lost their life. Even if you're not a big snake fan, we don't want to see animals suffer. And in this case, they had no water, they weren't being fed properly, they certainly weren't being housed properly, and so we ended up taking every one of the snakes, including all the dead ones, for part of the court case. And in this situation, we moved them out, and we're charging with animal neglect. So then we have the task of evaluating all these animals, having the experienced veterinarian come in, evaluate every one of the snakes, health check them. They all, some of them had mites, which isn't too uncommon, but they weren't being shed out properly, so they all had to have baths. So then we have to find placement for all these snakes, all these 14 snakes. So then you have to find a rescue and someone who's not going to do breeding, because we don't want to be giving those snakes back into a breeding program. So we were able to place the actual snakes with a really good reputable rescue, which really worked out for us. You know, but then you're talking manpower and tax money. And I think that is one of my biggest problems that I have, where it's like we're not bridging this gap where it's like tax money is being spent on irresponsible breeders, and to me it just doesn't make sense that the majority of the taxpayers are taking the brunt for having to deal with this, when we could just adopt ordinances that do not allow people to have breeding rights. I mean, especially if you don't know what you're doing, you should have to come get a license from us, and then we kind of institute to make sure that you have best practices in place, and then go forward with something like that. So we received a call regarding animal welfare check on 5 Chihuahuas that were living at this home. So when we get out there, the police department was already out there, but you could tell as soon as I got out of my car that was a home away, I could smell this house. Hey, do you mind if I come in for a minute, just check the dogs and stuff?
Okay.
Okay. You could always tell that house because the curtains are pulled, they're only letting you in one entrance, but they won't let you all the way in the house. So again, this is another key component where an animal control officer has to play kind of like this psychologist role and talk to the people about letting us come in without having to go get the search warrant. Because as long as they invite us in, because our whole goal is that we just want to find compliance. The amount of ammonia that was in that house, you could never describe on a camera. You would actually have to bring someone to the house to actually experience it. So Michael, we're not just concerned about the dogs, okay? We're also concerned about you. I mean, that's a really strong smell in there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We could only be in the house maybe 5-6 minutes at a time because the smell, the intense burning of your eyes.
Ready?
Ready?
I'll be watching
We'll
you.
hold our
You
breath.
going first?
Yeah.
Time check 4:02.
Percy, come here. Percy.
And then to think that these people were living in this situation was even more heartbreaking, because I wouldn't let the dogs stay there, but let alone, I didn't really have the authority to not let them stay there. So again, it kind of comes into the play where we have to help them out, and they allowed us to take the dogs for 15 days so they could have a company come in, clean the home, and then bring the dogs back, because I truly believe that they cared for the dogs.
Poochie.
When's the last time you used that bed?
About a month and a half ago, or 2 months ago.
Again, we are really lucky to kind of work with the people who were compliant, allow us to take the dogs for 15 days, and then they got a company to come in, clean the house, tear the carpet out, air out the house, and kind of get back on a better progress. The problem is it going to repeat itself? Well, for animal control, most of the calls, right, are complaint driven. So we're receiving all these calls, and in a 6-month time, when we looked it up, we receive over 17,000 calls. So that's over almost 700 man hours that we're spending just fielding calls. So it is important when a resident sees something wrong, you need to call. You need to be that voice for the voiceless.
Macomb County, 27 cities, townships, and villages. From East Point to Memphis, Romeo to New Baltimore. 458 square miles of where you want to be. It's a place where your children can grow, and so can your business. Macomb County's tree-lined borders contain over 12,000 acres of parkland. Its outer edge, 31 miles of freshwater shoreline, both filled each year with countless concerts, festivals, and family reunions. It's the birthplace of advanced technologies that not only instruct future generations, but protect them. Hey, and those are just facts. You can get that from the internet or a book. No. To truly understand what Macomb County is all about, you need to experience it. You need to live here. You need to work here. When you do that, you'll know you're home.
It's important for you in the kennel to know the animals, right? And like what stage that they're going through. Just because, you know, most of you work, or all of you work 40 hours a week, and then some, right? Because we've all been working more than that. So it's important that you all know where those animals are in the stage of stuff, right?
All right, right now we're headed to a call just off 26 Mile in Macomb Township. The caller states he's got appears to be a sick cat. It's not moving too well, so, kitten. And so we're gonna go pick it up for him, take it back, and see what we can do for it.
Is that, what would you guess?
Oh, I guess
Kind of convulsing.
Oh, it could be dehydrated, it could be any number of things, but we're gonna back, take a look at them, see what we can do.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, are you actually going to do that, or?
What's that?
Or
We'll take a peek at them, see if it's something, you know, that we can do for them.
So what we found was appeared to be maybe a 4 to 6 month old kitten. As the caller stated, it wasn't moving around very well. Looks like it could have possibly distemper. It's hard to say, but we're going to take it back, take a peek, have the staff take a look at it and see if it's something that we can treat. What's that? Still breathing? Yep, still breathing. We'll get it back and take a peek at it. I don't know. Be careful with it.
Yeah, there's something wrong with this kid.
Give me have Byron come take a look.
These are pink. Neurological.
Something neurological,
Yeah, because it's twitching. Might have
like
got
distemper or something.
It might have gotten into something like poison or antifreeze. Yeah, there's something wrong with this. It needs to be humanely put down.
Okay.
Best for the cat.
It is going to have to be humanely put to sleep. It does look like it's some kind of serious neurological issue with it. Yeah. Yep. So it is going to have to be humanely put to sleep. Alrighty, so what we're going to now is we're going to New Haven
1/2 mile, turn left.
to assist the police department out there. It sounds like they got a dog in the back of their vehicle, or the dog might be in the back of somebody else's vehicle and they need help getting it out. That's the information we got. So we're headed that way right now to see what we can do with this dog. How's it going, fellas? Oh, I guess so.
Just needs transported back to the animal control.
Yeah, I was just wandering around.
Okay, friendly.
Friendly enough.
Okay.
Got my rope on. I get my rope back.
Okay, I'm gonna go fix one of our things up here, put a towel and stuff in there for him. So, all right.
They must have picked up a stray dog roaming the area here, and they just need to transport it back to the animal shelter. Yep, he'll be riding back with us. We're just trying to put something down here, that way, as cold as it is today, at least he stays a little bit warm. Yeah, give him a little bit of insulation here. Well, we'll put him back in a straight kennel and see if we can get some owner information and go from there. So we'll go ahead and put him back here. Alrighty, is she unlocked?
Yep.
Hi. Got a leash on him? Hi.
My rope there.
Hi. Hi. Hi, sweetie. Come on. So we're gonna put on one of our leashes. Hi, sweetie. You want your rope back? You want to hang on to it for a second while I put my leash on it?
Oh, okay. Okay, we're gonna get you warm. You're gonna be nice and warm. Right? Yeah.
There you go. Yes.
That was a little easier.
Yep. So just go ahead and undo this thing. Come on, let's go for a ride. Go for a car ride.
She doesn't like
Oh,
that
you don't
a lot.
like car ride? Come on. Come on.
Come on.
Go over here. Over here. All right, we're gonna do the 1, 2, 3 method. 2, 3. Good girl. Good sweetie. Good sweetie. Let me get it off you. Watch out. All right. We're gonna head and get a little bit of information. You just found it in this area here? Yeah. Come on. Come on. Come on, sweetie. Come on. Come on. Yes, come on. Oh, come on. Yes, come on. Come on. Good girl. Come on. Can you sit? Can you sit? Can you sit? Good girl. Good sweetie. No, no chip.